The moment the words left her lips, the room fell silent. It was supposed to be a simple dinner, friends, laughter, a little wine. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would leave me standing in the middle of our living room feeling like my ribs had cracked open from the inside. But she shouted it. Loud. Sharp. Brutal. Don't touch me. You're disgusting. Everyone froze. Glasses paused halfway to mouths. Forks stopped clinking. Nay. I stood there with my hand barely brushing her arm, my mouth half open, my brain refusing to understand what the hell had just happened. My wife, Emily, glared at me as if I were some stranger who had invaded her home. And for the first time in our 8 years of marriage, I felt genuinely frightened by the look in her eyes. The party that broke everything. Just minutes before, she had been laughing with her friends, cheeks flushed with wine, telling stories I hadn't heard before, stories she never shared with me. And then, when I gently touched her arm to ask if she wanted dessert, she flinched like I'd burned her. "Emily," I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's wrong?" She shook her head, grabbed her purse, and walked straight to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. The guests stared at me with a cocktail of pity and confusion. I forced a smile. "Sorry, guys. She's had a long week." They excused themselves quickly. It was impossible to stay in that awkward atmosphere. The moment the door closed behind the last guest, the entire house felt too large, too quiet, too cold. I stood outside our bedroom door and knocked once. No answer. Still nothing. The third time she spoke, her voice low and trembling. "Just leave me alone, Mark." That was the first night in years that we slept in separate rooms. And I couldn't shake the feeling that something inside my marriage had cracked beyond repair. The morning after, I woke early, haunted by the memory of her voice, those cruel, stabbing words, and brewed coffee the way she liked it. 2 sugars, no cream. It was an old habit. Comforting. Familiar. When she walked into the kitchen, her hair was tied in a messy knot, her eyes puffy, her face pale. She looked like someone who'd been crying all night. But the moment our eyes met, she shifted her gaze away. "Coffee," I offered softly. She hesitated, then nodded. "Thanks." Silence stretched between us. Thick, suffocating, full of everything she refused to say. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Emily, about last night. What happened? Why did you?" Her voice cracked. "Mark, please. Not right now." "But you called me disgusting," I whispered. "In front of everyone. You've never spoken to me like that. What changed?" She squeezed her eyes shut, her hands trembling around the mug. And she said nothing. Absolutely nothing. That silence was worse than yelling. Worse than the insult. It was the silence of someone who had already left, even if her body was still standing in front of me. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. The clue I wasn't meant to see. She left for work early, barely managing a quiet bye. I sat at the kitchen table long after the door closed, staring at the empty chair where she had been sitting. My mind kept replaying the look in her eyes. Guilt, fear, resentment. All mixed into a single expression I couldn't decode. I needed answers. When I went to our bedroom to tidy up, her purse had fallen over on the bed, spilling a few things out. I bent to gather them, and froze when I saw a receipt lying under the strap. Hotel receipt. From 2 days ago. 2 glasses of wine. 1 room. Charged to her card. My vision blurred. My fingers went cold. A pressure built behind my ribs that made it hard to breathe. No, she wouldn't. Emily had always been loyal, gentle, warm, affectionate. She wasn't the type to. But the proof lay in my shaking hands. The woman who screamed, "You're disgusting," at me had been in a hotel room with someone else. And suddenly, her reaction made sickening sense. Guilt transforms love into hostility. Shame turns touch into disgust. I sank onto the bed, the world spinning around me. My wife had betrayed me. The confrontation. She came home late, claiming she had work to finish. Her voice was distant, flat, mechanical. I couldn't hold it any longer. "Emily, we need to talk." Her shoulders tensed. She didn't turn around. I placed the receipt on the table beside her. She froze. Then slowly, painfully, she sank into a chair and buried her face in her hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." The room tilted. "Who?" My voice barely came out. She didn't answer, so I repeated it louder. "Who?" Finally she lifted her eyes. Red, swollen, full of guilt that cut me deeper than any confession could. "It was a colleague," she murmured. "Someone from work." "How long?" "A few weeks. And last night." My voice cracked. "Was that because you were drunk or because you can't stand me touching you now?" She winced as if I'd slapped her. "Mark, I didn't mean what I said. I just panicked. I felt guilty. I didn't know how to act around you. Every time you touched me, I felt like I was lying and—" "So you humiliated me," I said quietly. "Because you were guilty." Tears streamed down her face. "I didn't know what to do. I hated myself, and when you touched me, it felt like I didn't deserve your kindness." I stared at her, my heart tearing itself apart inside my chest. "I thought we were happy." "We were," she whispered. "That's what makes this worse. Reveals that hurt more than silence." She explained everything in a choked, trembling voice. "It wasn't planned. It wasn't some grand romance. It was a stupid, reckless moment in a hotel bar after a long work trip. Too many drinks, too little clarity, too much loneliness and temptation. I regretted it the moment it happened," she whispered. "But the guilt, it just kept eating at me. And I didn't know how to tell you. So you pretended nothing happened." "I tried," she said weakly. "But every time I looked at you, I saw what I'd ruined." The more she spoke, the more my heart broke. Not because she cheated, but because she didn't trust me enough to talk to me. Because she lied, hid it, carried the guilt until it exploded in the ugliest way possible. Because somewhere along the line, she had stopped believing we were partners. The breaking point. "Do you still love him?" I asked. Her eyes widened in shock. "No." "Meant nothing, Mark. Nothing. It was just a mistake. A horrible mistake." "Do you still love me?" She reached across the table, her fingers trembling, reaching for my hand like a lifeline. "Yes," she whispered. "I do. More than anything." I pulled my hand away. Her face crumpled. "Emily, I don't know if I can forgive you." She nodded slowly, tears dripping onto the table. "I know. And I'll accept whatever you decide. But I want to try. I want to fix this." Her voice cracked. "I want us." The next morning, I didn't sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about 8 years. Birthdays, anniversaries, small joys, stupid arguments, quiet mornings, shared dreams. Love isn't something you can switch on and off. Betrayal doesn't erase memories. It stains them. When dawn finally came, I walked into the kitchen. Emily was already there, clutching a cup of coffee like it was keeping her alive. Her eyes were swollen, her posture defeated. "Mark," she whispered. "Whatever you want, therapy, space, separation, I'll agree. Just, please don't hate me." I looked at her for a long time. The woman who destroyed me. The woman I still loved. The woman I wasn't sure I could ever trust again. "I don't know what the future looks like," I said quietly. "But I'm willing to try therapy." Her breath caught. Hope flickered in her eyes. "But," I added, "I'm not promising anything. This will take time. A lot of it." "I understand," she whispered. For the first time in weeks, she didn't look away. And for the first time since the betrayal, I didn't either.